Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And the drama around snaking is once again kicking off. Over the last couple of months, we've seen that the pros abusing snaking is seemingly happening on every single map at the moment. And some have raised the question, is it possible to go back to what we had a few years ago, where the pros decided between them to ban it and not use it and abuse this movement mechanic against other pros? The pros right now have gone completely off the kilter with the amount of snaking that's being abused. Some want it gone. What's the solution to this going to be? Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Feel bad for Simp here. I'd finished my last scrim of the year, but it was on a fortress control. That's always a tough one to be honest. But yeah, new year, hopefully you'll be a little bit better. This quickly from Proloot as well, of course, he had a very interesting 2022 after all that's happened with the OpTic stuff and going from challengers into the OpTic team. And earlier today, we talked about the fact that OpTic didn't want to bring in a challengers player. Of course, Proloot was kind of a last resort for the OpTic guys in that sense, but whether that will happen this time, who knows? Now, of course, on the Las Vegas Legion. Now, speaking of some guys that are still in the challenger side, I thought this is kind of funny here from Fire. So he's obviously playing with Parasite now in the challenger scene, and this also a follow-up drama for that. So honestly, the challengers drama always hits stiffy. You guys might remember this tweet we talked about from Johnny back in November, where he talked about Doug hitting new records, and Doug had dropped 4 in 22. Pretty impressive stat line. Now, in fairness, this is probably worse than the tweet that we're about to see here from Krempu's Doug's teammate, just because like a 250 to 44 in hardpoint is a blowout that you rarely ever see. Now, a 3-0 in control, it does happen, to be honest. But, you know, still, new year, new you, Kremp says. Of course, with the Boston Academy, still Kremp, Doug, Shawnee, and Beans. There was, of course, some discussion that Beans was going to be gone to OpTic or wherever potentially, but he's going to stay there for now, and that also means that the starting Boston team is going to stay the same, we would imagine, for the present time. Now, Fire, 15 in 15, Parasite, 15 in 20, Johnny, 5 in 22. So not quite 4 in 22, but still 5 in 22, 5 kills in the control. Not ideal. It's probably not as bad, let's be honest here, than 4 kills in a hardpoint is, but nonetheless, it's still kind of spicy, and just the fact that Kremp tweets us out on New Year's Day just for the sake of the beef is pretty funny, to be honest. And even Classic says here, which is a pretty good reply, now that's karma, hold the David, right? So of course, David covered Barlow, but you know, that is karma apparently, but still, it's only scrims. What matters is actually when they get to the tournaments. And even Johnny tweeted something last night. We know the drama between Johnny and Doug over the last several months. Johnny tweeted something, and then yeah, Doug says, you just placed top 24 after placing second online. Wonder what the product was on LAN. So, you know, basically he thinks this guy's an absolute onliner. And yes, Doug might not have had the greatest placing at Raleigh either, but he's still going to take the opportunity to talk some trash if he can. So, yeah, still, that's a drama and a rivalry that we're going to keep our eyes on going into the upcoming situation. Quick note as well here from Zinx, just on the challenger side, as he says he's kind of closed the chapter of his life playing comp card. Definitely a name that's been around for many years. Thought, you know, really interesting story here, talking about how he was homeless for the first month of Modern Warfare 2. So, yeah, I'm glad everything's come together for him here and he's worked it all out and, you know, looking to the future and doing coaching and stuff. So hopefully it all works out for Zinx. Just, you know, really tough for a lot of these challengers guys that have been around for years. Now they're trying to find out how they can make it work. It's just a really tough situation down there. These guys are grinding day in, day out for peanuts, really, to try and get the opportunity. It's just really tough for these guys to keep it going for so long. We saw Chino, of course, retired as well just a few days ago. And also to mention this from Atlanta Phoenix Gun. Now, this is kind of like the official supporters group here for the Atlanta Reign, I guess, and also Atlanta FaZe, certainly, where they're going to do some watch parties. So we know that some organizations are putting this stuff on. We saw for the first set of qualifiers, like Toronto did something in person. Minnesota are also doing their own things in person for a couple of their matches later in the season. But there are also some unofficial watch parties going on here. For example, if you guys are local to Atlanta, I guess there's a watch party going on here on, 2023 on the 14th of January for their match at 6 p.m. up against the Minnesota Rokkr. Always going to be a pretty good series, that one. But yeah, if you guys happen to be local, just stay tuned for stuff like this, because if the teams don't do it, sometimes there are fan groups and supporters groups that do this type of stuff as well. Makes things better for the fans. Love to see it. Now, let's dive into some drama then, because we love to see stuff like this. Octane and Scrappy have been going at it as well. I've got to share a clip for you guys here in a second where, you know, Scrappy drops 7 kills. Octane isn't so happy. In fairness, they won the game anyway. So just do think that Scrappy is in an interesting situation where he talks all this trash, and in fairness, he's backed it up a fair bit. Had a good performance individually at Major 1 in Raleigh. Of course, wasn't for the start of the tourney that kind of the performance he was wanting, but he still dropped the 40 kills on the hotel map, broke the record for that so far. So, you know, Scrappy's still coming for blood going forwards. But nonetheless, you know, he talks all this trash. Whenever he loses, it's going to clap back at him to a certain extent. And if he ever has a bad performance, and look, there's a lot of fans that really like Scrappy and like what he's doing here, but there's a lot of fans as well that are, you know, seeing him as the new villain of the scene, which, look, is pretty exciting as far as I'm concerned. But nonetheless, it is potentially going to backfire more often than it's going to work out in his favor unless Toronto go on to dominate a large part of the season, which is possible. They've got a very solid roster, but I think dominating anything this year is going to be tough given the level of competition and also the state of the game as well. But the other point I wanted to talk about is the snaking drama. This happens every year at some point where certain players, of course Cellium is always the main candidate here, but really gets everyone nowadays snaking all the time, all over the shop, give you like any truck on the embassy map, any head glitch, you'll see people bobbing up and down, really difficult to kill, and even Fortress right over towards that A bomb site or whatever the bomb site is. Good luck getting anyone off that one when they're just snaking it repeatedly over and over again. Really tough to kill, incredibly frustrating for the pros. What is the appropriate solution here?
Don't gap it. Get kills.
No.
Seven.
Lord.
7?
Jesus.
We won 3-0.
7?
We won
Get the
3-0.
screenshot.
We won.
7.
Oh!
Dementia, you're terrible. You're terrible.
7. 7.
Oh my
Where the
god.
f***ing name is, bro?
Crazy, bro.
7?
That is insane. Nah, 7's actually criminal behavior. That's
3-0 though.
Nuts, bro.
All
That's
7
actually
kills
nuts.
mean everything.
Hey, Octane, why are you streaming when you just got top 12? I just got top 6. F you and your whole...
I think it's very easy with a SCAR to aim high and just absolutely mow people down, bro.
Well,
I mean,
I
yeah,
guess, but to add on top of that, the snaking has hit like an all new level of
Well, that's
insanity.
another.
yeah,
That's
restaurant on hotel is insane.
I mean, it's not even fun. It is like the most cheesy thing ever.
But the problem is that can't be GA. That can't be
Yes,
GA.
it
That
can,
has to be
though.
fixed.
It
No,
was
it
GA
can't.
for,
No, it
no,
can't.
it was
Hold on,
GA for years.
hold
It
on,
was
hold
GA
on.
for
And it was
years.
such a dumb GA, bro. Listen.
Okay, but you can, though.
If I run into the restaurant, there's a guy behind the thing, laying down, watching an angle, and then he ends up getting up,
The
which
tornado
creates a snake
snakes.
animation and kills me, and I lose a situation because of it. Like,
I
what?
hear you.
I'd rather know that I'm gonna get snaked and anticipate and play around it
Guess you
rather
have
than
switched
like
to
get
cast or
accidentally snaked.
No, listen, no. I think I disagree with you. I think this blatant bull is insane. I would much rather get snaked once a map or once in a blue moon because someone's reloading or they were weak or they were watching an angle than this like humping the ground.
And then you lose a map because of it, and then I got snaked for the loss. Like, oh damn.
Yeah,
dude.
exactly. It never ends. It never ends.
I wish I would have just known. Like, I would much rather know that I'm gonna get snaked, so I can find ways to stop it or snake back, right? Than get accidentally snaked for an L, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
Period.
Bro,
I'd
we
rather just
talked
know
about
it's coming.
this
They need
too.
to just fix it. Period.
Bro,
Fix
we
it.
did this back
okay,
in the day in
obviously, we all
IW. We
agree with
literally GA'd snaking. We go into scrims, everybody's still snaking. We had a whole talk for 2 hours about not snaking, and everybody's still snakes.
Yeah,
we go,
wait, what was the map? The uplink map where the ball spawned between the two desks, and he would just go in there and snake.
and that's the thing, bro. That's the thing, dude. That's annoying, bro. We literally lost an event after talking about GAing snaking. Ian's in here. Ian, you in here? We couldn't snake because
European.
you had one thumb.
So if you guys are new to the esport, this is the map that they were talking about from Infinite Warfare. This is on Precinct. This is where the uplink ball would spawn here. This is well, they basically had one of these on like the side, this massive like concrete or marble block type thing that you could just head glitch and snake again and again. Snaking, if you guys are unfamiliar, when you crouch just about go prone, when you go prone you sprint or you do something to get out of the prone movement, and then you just do that repeatedly. So you're kind of going just about prone and then your head's coming up again. You can see over the piece of cover. Sometimes the guy that's on the other side, the current character models, let's say, don't align with what you can see, so it makes you incredibly hard to kill, and when you do want to shoot them, then you just stand up fully and take the shots, and it's really frustrating to be in any situation dealing with someone doing exactly that. Now, it's always been a problem in COD, the way the movement works. Now, in an ideal world, there's a significant cooldown, right, on the crouching, but unfortunately, when you sprint out of kind of prone, then it kind of eliminates that cooldown, so you can do this again and again and again. For example, in Counter-Strike, snaking isn't really a thing, because if you try and crouch and stand up again several times in a row, then your character just gets tired and stops doing it anymore. So, that would be a solution, but unfortunately in Call of Duty that has never really been the case. So Infinite Warfare was the prime snaking game. During Stage 1 playoffs, that's what kind of Enable was talking about at the end there, those Europeans, because at Splice were a European team at the time, Zero, Bance, Jerd, and Madcat, and they were known for being the kings of the snakes at those times. Like at Stage 1 playoffs, every head glitch like this, they would just be snaking again and again. Cellium was known for it as well on, I think it was Scorch the map was on the P2 hardpoint, where there was a block kind of like this and Cellium would just snake it again and again and again, and it'd be incredibly tough to kill. So this was the prime game really where this happened. And Azuma said after that tournament, really, they sat down and said, look guys, we want to stop this. It's making the game awful to play and it's making it incredibly bad to watch. We've got to get rid of the snaking. And what are we going to do? The pros agreed between them like, look, let's not do it. And yes, there might have been some people doing it occasionally. And obviously it's tough. Let's say you need to reload your gun, you go prone, you stand up again, and the guy on the other side thinks, oh damn, that guy just snaked me. Like, you know, that's against the rules. It's a GA, right? The gentleman's agreement that they, you know, the gentlemen here, that the pros of course are, have agreed to not abuse this type of stuff, therefore they're not going to do it. Reality is, it might happen on occasion, and even back in Cold War, right, when this was really being another key discussion between Cellium and everything else that was happening at the time, as we'll see some examples of here in a second, and the pros were like, hey look, Cellium, please, can you stop doing the snaking? We're fed up of it, and it's making the game awful to play, and you're just ruining the experience. And Cellium was like, I'll kind of do what I want, to be honest. You know, you can do it too, phase up, and all this type of stuff. So that's kind of where we are nowadays. So the pros might want to get rid of it, but the reality is that players like Cellium will probably never agree to actually gentleman's agreement it anyway. They're going to abuse it. It's a movement mechanic. They're going to do exactly that. And therefore nowadays, whereas a few years ago it was like, okay, well, Cellium's doing this, let's just maybe deal with it, or, you know, get annoyed at him, which is fair enough. But now it's like, well, Cellium's doing it, so we've all got to do it. And it's not just Cellium, of course, plenty of other players doing this as well, but Cellium's always been the kind of prime target of these discussions, as we saw a couple of years ago here between Slasher, who is now on the team of Cellium, of course, and talking about the frustrations of them doing it, you know, snaking relentlessly again and again and again. I'm sure we had a fun video talking about this drama a couple of years ago. Even when Slasher here threatens to have a blacklist and say, well, if you don't agree to not snake, then we're going to blacklist you, whereas, you know, nowadays Slasher's on the team with Cellium, so it's maybe a little bit of a different story in his mind. So what is the appropriate solution here, if any? Can the pros actually ban it, right? And this is the problem that the pros have, because players like Cellium are going to say no, and even if they did say yes, then can you really do that, right? Because Parasite makes a good point. He would prefer to be in a situation where he knows they're going to snake you, and you can prepare for it, rather than maybe getting snaked and maybe not. Now, Methods, I actually agree with him there, though, that he's like, look, he would prefer to have to deal with it maybe once every series because someone accidentally does it, or they pick up a weapon or something, and maybe they even apologize after the series. But look, if it's the World Championship Grand Finals and you're in a 1 versus 1, are you going to snake or are you not, right? Like, that's the question at the end of the day. You probably are, regardless of the circumstances. And I mean, look, the other guy's going to be like, oh damn, you snaked me, you broke the gentleman's agreement, but you know, it's not against the rules, so unlucky mate, I'm going to get the $1 million and the ring, and you're not. So, you know, that's where things always break down. You're in a Grand Finals 1 versus 1, you know, are you going to snake the guy or are you not? This is where the grey area is, and of course, in an ideal world, the game is not broken, and therefore no problem. But the reality is that this is a really difficult problem to solve, and you can understand why the pros are certainly at odds as to what they do about this. But you know, they're obviously not happy with the state of the snaking as it presently stands. So very much intrigued your thoughts and all that in the comment section below. Just a couple of quick notes here to close out the video from Brian Stats again. Neslo, of course, nowadays people know the Neslo as a 2-3-5. I'm sure a lot of you guys don't really know about Neslo because really OG player. This is one of his famous moments here. I think when he clutched that 1v2 against the OpTic guys at I think it was the X Games, when this guy just went absolutely donkey mode to keep them in the series, but still OpTic managed to win it regardless. But OpTic nearly choked that one, to be honest. And you know, obviously he was a top player, had several top placings, and the days where he was on Team Caliber, he was one of the more feared players in the league. And just to show you this as well, with 2022 coming to an end, this is you know, the winningest players for the calendar year. So obviously nowadays it's a different story to what it was back in the day, but kind of remarkable that 2022 only had, well, there was 6 players here that won 2 events each, but nothing more than that. Most seasons it's different. 2019 in fairness had the same thing occur, but every other year since 2011 there's been, well, players that have won more per season. Scump, of course, you know, 2012 he was on quite a few of these lists. The top, of course, being Advanced Warfare, with Scump, Crim and Formula winning 9, because they had Karma part of that year, they had even Nature, I believe, part of that year. Of course they did at the start of the season. They had a Naval part of that year, so it was those 3 that won the bulk of the events together. But nowadays there's just, you know, so few events relatively that you've got even Simp, aBeZy last season, Cellium only winning 4 events in the 2021 season, despite basically dominating the entire thing. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.